Tonight, there's a great escape in The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared.
A phone call triggers a nail-biting drive for Tom Hardy in Locke.
And hold your breath as James Cameron takes us to the bottom of the ocean in Deepsea Challenge 3D. Good evening.
Hello.
Also tonight, Cuba Gooding Jr. fights to break the chains of slavery in freedom.
And this week's classic is John Farrow's The Big Clock. But David, what about this 100-year-old man climbing out the window?
What about him indeed? Well, after blowing up the fox that killed his beloved cat Molotov, Alan Carlson, played by Robert Gustafson, is placed in a retirement home. On the morning of his 100th birthday, he slips out and makes his way to the railway station, where he's asked to mind a suitcase and absent-mindedly goes off with it on a bus. The suitcase belongs to a drug dealer and contains 50 million Swedish krona. Bikies are after it, and the authorities are after Alan too. He teams up with Julius, Ivar Wiklander, another loner, and later with the seriously indecisive Benny, David Wiberg, as they take to the road.
Hallå!
Hej, hej.
Hej, hej. Vi undrar om vi kunde få hyra ett rum här i natt.
Ja, alltså det är inget jävla hotell det här. Jag bor här inne.
Men vi betalar bra. Pengar finns, det är inte det.
Jaha. Vad fan, är ni på rymmen eller vad?
Alltså det är ingen fara det här. Jag fattar att det känns konstigt att vi kommer hit här. Men,
det kommer en liten gubbe till.
Vi körde vilse lite grann och skulle vara jättetacksamma om det gick att ordna.
Hej på dig, Gunilla.
Ja, trevligt.
Ja, det får vi väl se hur det blir. Ja, vad fan, jag får väl knö in er på den vänster. Bara ingen ligger och pissar ner sig, för det tål jag inte. Då får ni sova i ladan.
Meanwhile, we see Alan's life story and how his profound naivete and fascination for explosives propelled him into the 20th century's hotspots, including meetings with Truman, Stalin, and Franco. This Swedish film is based on a very popular novel by Jonas Jonasson, and Robert Gustafson is the country's best-loved comedian, though his role as Alan gives him few opportunities for obvious comedy. Alan is something of a blank page. He's so unworldly that he'll treat both the American vice president and the Soviet leader on equal terms. He was castrated as a youth, a weird development that probably worked better in the book, so he has no interest in women. Yet, like an innocent in a silent comedy, he creates chaos wherever he goes. And in this case, that includes a fair amount of carnage. The plotting is clever, and the film, directed by Felix Herngren, is handsomely produced, and nothing if not amiable, while the supporting cast, especially Mia Skaringa's warm-hearted Gunilla, is very good company. Margaret, did you like this?
Not a lot. I thought she was one of the good things in it. I found his makeup as an old man really obvious. I thought it was a bit turgidly directed. It could have had a brisker pace. And I'm not into this picaresque, cute thing, that the whole thing. I tell you, I am not going to run to read the book. But the fact is that this film has been so enormously popular in the Nordic countries. It's incredible, and it looks like it's going to overtake The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in terms of box office. So, I mean, there's something...
Well, I think that's because, first of all, the book was so popular, and second, that Robert Gustafson is a very popular comedian.
But I think that book has sold all around the world as well.
Yeah, sure.
And I haven't read it, and I'm not going to.
No,
but
I understand. You've said that, yeah.
I know. I'm repeating myself. I'll go 3 stars.
I'm giving it 3.5.
Herbert var ju den enda som kunde röra sig utanför sina områden utan att bli skjuten. För vakterna hade ju vant sig vid att han gick vilse och irrade bort sig hela tiden.
You pretend that you are going to the canteen, but you end up in the laundry, and there you steal 2 uniforms.
Go to the canteen?
No. You pretend to go to the canteen, but you end up in the laundry. The guards, they think that you are going to the canteen.
So I go to the canteen?
You go to the laundry.
To the laundry?
Yes.
Why I go to the laundry?
Because
the feeding, the food is in canteen.
Det här är helt jävla otroligt. Listen, you go to the laundry by mistake.
To get the steak?
Efter 1 år gav jag upp. Jag förstår att min plan var alldeles för invecklad för Herbert.
Herbert, vi skiter där. Forget it.
The 100-year-old man who climbed out the window and disappeared opens in limited national release this week. Stephen Knight is a screenwriter of such films as Dirty Pretty Things and Eastern Promises. Locke, which he took on as director, stars Tom Hardy as a man in a BMW driving from Birmingham to London. He's a construction engineer and he's meant to be overseeing a huge job, the largest concrete pour attempted in Europe in a commercial facility. We never leave the car, but the conversations Locke has on the phone with his boss, Gareth, Ben Daniels, and his crew chief, Donald, Andrew Scott, are increasingly tense. Also wanting contact is his wife, Katrina, Ruth Wilson, and another woman, Bethan, Olivia Coleman.
They just left me, I'm on my own.
Is there a bell?
A what?
I don't know, a buzzer or something to get a nurse.
They just put their head around, they said it could be hours.
Now, are you okay?
I need the loo.
Well, tell them.
Well, there's no one here.
Well, is there a bell?
They don't have bells, what do you mean?
When they put their head around the door, you tell them that you need the lavatory.
It's like a pain I've never had right inside all the way up to my chest.
Have you talked to anyone about the pain?
No, what do you mean? Ivan, what do you mean?
I'm saying, have you talked to anybody about stopping the pain? Have you decided?
Well, they said, let's see.
Well, just have whatever that is, seriously.
Rehearsed and shot in less than 2 weeks because of the limitations on Hardy's availability, Knight compresses this ambitious drama into an agonising journey for this decent man as he juggles crises in his career and family as he moves steadily through the night. Tom Hardy is extraordinary. It's a tour de force from him. The concept, the way it was filmed with fabulous cinematography from Haris Zamaloukos, who used 3 red cameras within the car, changing positions each night as they shot it like a play. It is the most extraordinary feat, this film, and it's not just an exercise in pyrotechnics, and it's an exploration of existential angst.
It is an extraordinary portrait of a man going through an extreme crisis over a couple of hours as he goes on this long drive from the Midlands down to the south of England.
Well, when we heard about it, one man in a car for an hour and a half.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Robert Redford in a boat in All Is Lost, you know, which was wonderfully effective as we saw. And this is too. I mean, this works brilliantly, thanks mainly to Tom Hardy, who has a tremendous screen presence and a voice that reminded me a little bit of the young Richard Burton. It's got that sort of soft Welsh accent, which was beautiful. I think Stephen Knight's done a terrific job of direction. It's a very intelligent, very austere film. And
great screenplay.
Yeah.
Really great screenplay.
Fine screenplay. And it just completely succeeds in everything it sets out to do.
What are you giving it?
I'm giving it 4.
Me too, 4 stars.
I have not behaved in the right way with this woman at all. I have behaved in a way that isn't like me. But now I am going to do the right thing.
Why, Chicago can go to f***ing hell.
It is a decision that I've made. I'm not going to turn back.
Do you know how many millions of pounds are riding on tomorrow? If any one of those properties up, Ivan, we are facing £10 million worth of losses in 15 minutes. So if we get that 15 minutes for the whole morning, a total shutdown, $100 million. Are you still there, Ivan?
Yes. Look, I have no explanation.
It must have been like doing a stage play, because I understand that you shot over 5 nights.
Yeah.
And you did the whole film each night.
That's right, yeah. On the whole, it is a straight play, you know, so the idea was he wanted to shoot the whole thing in one take. But it wasn't possible to shoot the whole thing in one take, because you can't have 90 minutes of film of quality, you know, and also you need more angles in the car. So, you know, we'd do the whole thing and then reset the cameras and do the whole thing again, and then reset the cameras, do the whole thing again, reset the cameras, do the whole thing again over 5 nights. So we read it once a night, maybe picked up a couple of, you know, if we dropped the ball, we pick up from that point and start a duologue again. And then, you know, the actors would phone in. I would never know when they were going to phone, so I'd be driving, then the phone would go, and, you know, so it was just very odd. And just right, actually.
There's a problem with the Vale stop and go. The council, they've questioned the licence at the last minute.
Shit.
So I was going to call them in the morning.
Was it too late?
I'm sorry?
We have to control the road to get the trucks in and out of the south gate.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Locke. You'll have to take that up with the council.
But it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, the council offices are closed, aren't they?
It's a 90-page script, and I had 5 days to learn it, so it was never going to happen. They put auto cues all around the car. So while I'm driving there in the sat-nav and off the mirror and hidden and in my lap and in different places, so it was a bit of sleight of hand for the whole thing, because I didn't know any of it at all. So it was good fun. Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's good fun though, right? And I think that was what was really exciting about it, was that Steve's such a solid writer. He's a brilliant writer, and then he was prepared to do a sort of slightly punk experiment. And that I'm never going to learn this in time. How do you feel about this? And he was like, fine. And he took the risk. And I think from a purely anorak kind of point of view, as somebody who enjoys challenge in acting and stuff like that, it's like, to try and pull something like that off was part of the event of the experiment for me, you know.
I really want to know that tomorrow I can drive home and talk to the boys and be at home as normal, and we can go out or something and have a drink and talk about it. I want to know that I am not driving in one direction.
What I tried to do was reflect what ordinary people do all the time, you know, where you can see people having a terrible emotional crisis, really the worst possible crisis they can be having. The phone rings, and I've got to take this call. You know, we've all been, and you take the call, and you're that person for a bit, and you deal with the problem at work. Then you cut the call, and you're back into this huge emotion again. And I'd never seen that depicted. You know, it's the acrobatics that ordinary people do. The whole thing is about how ordinary people live their lives and how dramatic and worthwhile their stories are. And you know, that's one of the things, is that he has to leap between these two worlds all the time.
That was writer-director Stephen Knight and actor Tom Hardy talking about Locke, which opens around the country in limited release next week. Now to freedom. In Virginia in 1856, Samuel Woodward Cuba Gooding Jr. and members of his family escaped from the plantation of sadistic Jefferson Monroe, David Rash, thanks to the help of Garrett, Michael Goodwin, a Quaker. While they're pursued by Monroe's emissary Plimpton, William Sadler, and his men, Samuel's mother tells the story of his great-grandfather, who, as a boy in 1748, was kidnapped in Gambia, Africa, and forced onto a slave ship captained by John Newton, Bernhard Forscher.
What's going on?
He was trying to hang himself, Captain.
What is he saying? Isaias!
He wants to die.
Tell him we're taking him to a better place, a new life.
He wants his freedom. Some of them are starving themselves too, Captain.
This is valuable cargo, Mr. Davy. I can't have slaves killing themselves.
This quite strange film is the feature debut of Australian Peter Cousins, who's better known as a star of stage musicals, Phantom of the Opera, Les Miserables. Starting off in similar vein to 12 Years a Slave, with unfortunate African Americans suffering terribly at the hands of a cruel plantation owner, the film develops into a quite suspenseful chase movie, but constantly undercuts the drama with unnecessary flashbacks to 100 years earlier and life aboard a slave ship. An interlude with a troupe of actors, among them Australian Tony Sheldon, is a pleasant diversion. But when the characters, including Cuba Gooding Jr., start to burst into song, the film never really recovers. The earnest and contrived screenplay by Tim Che seems aimed at evangelical audiences. Performances are fine and the film is well made, but it's too much of a hybrid to be completely successful. Margaret, what did you think?
Yes, pretty similar to you, actually. You can see Peter Cousins' love of music, in drama. And actually the story of the ship's captain is about the origin of the song Amazing Grace. And so, you know, that musical element is there in the historical as well.
But that might have been one film in itself. I mean, the cutting in between...
I doubt it. Well, but you have, you know, you do have the tension of the escape. And actually, it's a really interesting story, this underground railroad that went from the south with the plantations and the slaves on the plantations all the way up to Canada and freedom.
But that's what I mean. There are sort of two films here.
Yes.
And I think they've been uneasily mixed together. And then the addition of songs kind of is the final blow.
I wonder what the connection between Peter Cousins and Cuba Gooding Jr. was, because Gooding was actually one of the producers on this, wasn't
I noticed that. Yeah.
So, look, I'm very half-hearted about this, 2.5 stars.
I'll give it 2.
Samuel, you causing me one hell of a headache, you know that? Unfortunately, I need all of yous. Something that Monroe's watchdog here don't seem to understand.
Yeah, but we got him.
Back up! Back, drop it! Drop it! Drop it! Okay, all right. Look, you hold all the cards there, Samuel. Look, there he goes. You too! Drop it!
Are you on time?
You're gonna be running your whole life, you know that, don't you? Monroe ain't never gonna stop looking for that little bitch of his. You better shoot me now, cause we gonna hunt you down like dogs.
Samuel, you will never be free.
Freedom opens nationally this week. It should have been obvious years ago that director James Cameron had an obsession with the ocean. After The Abyss and Titanic, with a rather major detour to Avatar, the old man returns to the sea in Deepsea Challenge 3D, a film that documents the extraordinary lengths to which Cameron was willing to go to explore the deepest parts of the ocean. Basing himself in Sydney with a team of experts, many of them Australian, he set about constructing a submarine pod that could withstand the pressure at 36,000 feet below. The ultimate aim was the floor of the Mariana Trench, halfway between Papua New Guinea and Japan. But first came test runs in Sydney and in the New Britain Trench.
Surface Deepsea Challenger, do you copy? Over.
Jacob's rib, we're still receiving Deepsea Challenger, but he is not acknowledging our transmission, over.
Yep, copy. Yeah, no voice comms. Okay, that's not too promising.
He's not hearing us or responding to us.
Depth gauge is not changing. Whoa. Just lost my thrusters. See, look, this is not good. This is not good. My thrusters are running away. Won't respond. Then they drive by themselves. I think we got a problem. We've got a lot of failures here, and I'm coming up to my depth. Without thrusters, I can't even stop. This is not good.
You have to hand it to Cameron. Obsessed he may be, but to go solo in a tiny, cramped pod down into the deepest depths where no man has gone before takes some sort of courage and enormous discipline. The film was produced in Australia, and it's an amazing piece of work, a fascinating insight into just what it takes, money, guts and determination, to mount an expedition like this. Directed by John Bruno, Ray Quint and Andrew White, who tragically died in a helicopter crash during filming, along with underwater cinematographer Mike de Grey. The film is a hymn to the spirit of adventure and to the quest for scientific knowledge of our planet.
I think it's a very solid documentary. I guess my problem with it is that whereas I can absolutely understand people wanting to climb to the top of Mount Everest or go to the moon or whatever, this seems like a rather odd obsession to want to go down to the bottom point of the world's ocean.
He's done it before, you know,
I know.
with other expeditions to Titanic and the Bismarck.
But there's a bit of point to that, because he's going down to a sunken ship. But here he's just going down to the... it's an achievement, of course it is. But in the end, it's sort of a bit anticlimactic somehow. And I just couldn't get all that involved with it just because I couldn't quite see the point of it. Really.
I loved the information I was getting about stuff I didn't know anything about, and I really, you know, it gives you insight into that mindset of Cameron, which I think is a really interesting one. I'm giving it 4 stars, David.
I'm giving it 3.
Just like on Trieste, the heart of our new sub is a steel sphere, forged in fire. 52 years later, there's still no better solution. The sphere is nature's perfect shape for resisting pressure. And it's going to protect me from the crushing force down at the bottom, over 16,000 pounds per square inch. That's like having 2 Humvees stacked on your thumbnail. It's taken us 3 years to design and build this sphere. We have to heat treat the steel to be strong enough to withstand the weight of 7 vertical miles of water. We have to know that the sphere is safe. If it buckles on a real dive, it'll implode at hypersonic speed, and I get chummed into a meat cloud in about 2 microseconds.
Deepsea Challenge 3D opens around the country this week. And now for our classic. John Farrow was born in Sydney in 1904, educated at Newtown Public School, and became a merchant sailor before moving to Hollywood as a technical advisor on filming seafaring scenes. He started writing films and in 1937 became one of the first screenwriters to be promoted to director. He made war films, westerns and thrillers, and by 1948 he was at the peak of his success. That year, 3 years after the birth of his daughter, Mia Farrow, he made 2 great thrillers at Paramount. Night Has 1,000 Eyes, published from a modernistic New York skyscraper dominated by the clock of the film's title. Farrow tightens the suspense around this gripping plot, aided immeasurably by the outstanding noir photography by John Seitz. Farrow's wife, Maureen O'Sullivan, plays the neglected Mrs. Stroud, and Lawton's wife, Elsa Lanchester, is hilarious as an eccentric artist and witness. George Macready, a classical stage actor who plays Janice's loyal deputy, is wonderfully creepy. But it's Lawton who dominates the film with one of the great performances ever given by this fine British actor. Margaret, did you like The Big Clock?
Yeah, no, I did. It's very tense. But what I love screenplay, and I think it's been so cleverly constructed for tension. It is, you know, I mean, it's very imaginative, the structure of it, and it makes me want to read the book, actually. I thought Ray Milland started out a little bit wobbly, a little bit self-conscious in his performance, but he really gets into it later on. I think Lawton's fabulous.
Lawton's amazing.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sure does.
You know, he's sort of, you know, another man trying to juggle career and family, really.
That's right, yeah.
Just like Locke.
Yeah. That's right, yes. And Lawton is this kind of, I don't know, Rupert Murdoch type media mogul, you know, so powerful and so feared.
The guy hasn't got red in the printing press, fire him!
Yeah.
He fires I don't know how many people in the course of the film.
I know.
He's ruthless.
Yeah. So look, here's a scene from the film. It's late in the film as the suspense is increasing. You'll see Charles Lawton at his best.
Fielder. Who else could it be?
Ooh, I wonder who. That was a lovely choice, The Big Clock. David, thank you.
And don't forget that Cinefest Oz Film Festival opens tomorrow evening with the Australian premiere of Son of a Gun.
The festival runs until Sunday the 24th of August, and I might see you there. That's the show for tonight. Good night from us.
Good night.